Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're very honored to have all of you today here at the plenary session 8, this title, Leveraging Diaspora Expertise for Knowledge and Innovation Ecosystem. To just give you a background, this session took place in Delhi on the 30th of July when we had a very large panel of experts, some of them who have been flown down specially to Delhi, and it was a 6-hour discussion on this topic. It was chaired by our Minister, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, the Minister for External Affairs, and it was co-chaired by Dr. Harshvardhan, Minister for Science and Technology. This was the long panel of experts that we had that day. It's a very elaborate list, 14 members. We are very glad to have 8 of them today in our presence. On July 30th, we had posed these 4 questions to our eminent panelists. We just asked them as to what does the Government of India need to do to take India's education and technology into the 21st century. We are already doing a lot in the S&T sphere. Most of you are already aware of India's moon mission and our next attempt to put 104 satellites into space in next few weeks. But at the same time, a lot of problems are still there at the lower level, primarily at the elementary school in the rural areas. There is a huge gap that we are currently witnessing in the area of innovation and technology. There needs to be this bridging of this gap that needs to happen at a very fast pace. On one hand, we are talking about the young demographic dividend that we need to kind of leverage, but on the other hand, we are also conscious that we are at the age of the Industrial Revolution 4.0, wherein there is going to be some creative destruction as far as technology usage is concerned, and where human intervention in all probability could be redundant. So we need to keep all this into consciousness and come up with policy interventions that will ensure that India is on track to move into the 21st century with ease. The other questions that we posed to our eminent panelists was, how do you engage with the diaspora in the R&D sector? And how do we facilitate collaborations? How do we get the NRI community interested in the innovation ecosystem or the startup ecosystem that Government of India is trying to promote? And finally, what is the kind of environment that India needs to create to attract the diaspora back to India so that they could contribute to India's development? Once these 4 questions were posed to our eminent panelists, through a day-long discussion, we've identified these broad 8 issues. One was, I think most panelists agreed to that, that there was ignorance about India's intrinsic strengths. India had its strengths, but globally or even within India, perhaps we were not recognizing this. Secondly, the resources that have been put aside for education, human resources, as well as R&D was minuscule compared to, say, what is happening in other developing economies. The other big factor which most panelists agreed to was that Indian research institutions are great, but they have emerged as centers of practitioners, but not for innovators. They said that perhaps this is because of most of these researchers working in silos, and that needs to change. Another aspect that most panelists agreed to was the sense of innovation and entrepreneurship is not being inculcated in India at a very early stage. And most of them agreed perhaps that this could be the Indian family system, which kind of gives you a great safety net, but doesn't really push you to take adventures. So Indian families need to realize that they must begin to accept failures in business ventures and appreciate the risk-taking abilities of the younger generation. The lack of an ecosystem to nurture abundant talent pool. There is enough talent, but how do you nurture them? Even this was missing. And at the same time, for example, in countries like in Sweden, where more than 60% of young students graduate with vocational degrees rather than formal degrees, this isn't happening in India because vocational training is not seen through the same lens. Vocational training is not something students aspire for. So this needs to undergo some change. And finally, what needs to be created in India so that the diaspora start coming back or contribute to research and development efforts in India. So these broad 8 issues were identified, and they also came up with solutions. What do we need to do? What does Government of India need to do? They said that innovation is the only road to greatness. Most of them have asked us to look at models in Japan, in Korea, in South Korea, in Taiwan, who have today become pioneers in innovation. And we've also been told that India's talent, abundant talent, needs to be nurtured, and so that they transform creativity into marketable innovations. This is something that Government of India needs to do. Innovation not in silos. We've been told that Nobel laureates and some people who have produced some outstanding research, they usually don't produce research in their own subjects. It is usually when they kind of do this cross-cutting, studies, when it interacts with other disciplines, that's really innovation happens. So this is something that they say that needs to be inculcated into the Indian scheme of things. And they also suggested that India needs to develop its own model of education and focus on its intrinsic strengths. For suggestions to tackle rising dropout rates, particularly in elementary school and primary education, they said that we need to focus more on interactive education and upgrading of teacher skills. Speaking of this, I hope all of you have visited hall number 1, where we have 20 innovators who have been selected through a national contest on social innovation. 2 of our innovators are doing some amazing work in the field of education. Please visit them, encourage them. If you are in the field of education, please guide them, mentor them. They need all your support. As far as vocational education is concerned, we have our panelists, our esteemed panelists have asked us that vocational education needs to be made relevant, it needs to be made attractive and respectable. They also said that India needs to cherish its heritage. Yoga, all of you know that since the new government is here, 21st June is now celebrated as International Yoga Day. This is a tremendous achievement, and going forward, we would like Ayurveda also replicating the same thing that we have done in the case of yoga. At the same time, Indian philosophy, mathematics, and scientific temperament also needs to be cherished and encouraged. Talking of startups, our panelists have said that risk-taking needs to be encouraged, possibly, and failure needs to be accepted. And for that, we need to create the right kind of systems that could encourage these young entrepreneurs to take those kind of risks. And we also need to support innovators so that they can transform their brilliant ideas into actually commercial propositions. This is not something easy. It needs to be nurtured. All these innovators need to be mentored. And finally, we have something called as design thinking approach. We need to identify as to what is the outcome. The outcome is very important, and then walk backwards. I think some of our panelists who are here bring with them enormous wisdom and years of experience. I would also encourage you to meet them after this session. As to how do we engage with the diaspora, what we've been suggested is that the Government of India perhaps could come up with a yellow book, a directory of who is good at what among the NRI community. Say somebody is a great physicist or somebody is a great doctor. Why don't we have such a unique publication which could tap into the NRI resources, highly talented NRIs, so that they could participate in policy making. They also said that India has expert committees on various sectors. Why not have NRI representation in these sectors? We can get in experts to participate and give their guidance on policy making in India. We've also been told to create platforms in India whereby diaspora scientists can actually come to India, organize scientific exchanges, educational programs, networking, and other opportunities that build capacity and encourage innovation. Another group suggestion was creating diaspora platforms in individual states. For example, if the state of Karnataka can have a diaspora platform and come up with a little booklet which says that Karnataka needs NRI intervention in these 10 sectors. So if this information is out there, the NRI community which is keen to say, for instance, if I'm coming from Karnataka and today I'm in the Silicon Valley, if my state calls me and asks me, why don't I contribute in this particular sector, perhaps I could go and work with the state government in helping the state government solving these issues. And this is something that we could think of. Our other suggestion was, this is a good way of involving the diaspora and also to institute awards for the diaspora who contribute to innovation and technology in India. All of you are aware that we have a program called GYAN, which is the Global Initiative of Academic Networks. Most of the panelists have said that this is an excellent initiative, but this needs to be really strengthened to make it work and make it substantive. Another good suggestion was Indian universities, Indian academic institutions must be encouraged to build networks through their alumni with the Indian diaspora. For example, say Satya Nadella today is the CEO of Microsoft and he comes from Manipal University. Can Manipal use Satya Nadella to do this networking so that that would help the institution to grow? Or say somebody could speak to say Sundar Pichai, who is the IIT from Kharagpur. Is it possible for IIT Kharagpur to then take their alumni network and ensure that somehow this all could be connected and have people like Sundar Pichai come back, bringing the network of IITians or IIM graduates back to India and help strengthen these institutions and universities? It's a very good suggestion. Another thing was involvement of diaspora in information exchanges on technology dissemination and technology regulation as part of the national innovation system. On the startups, we had some very good suggestions. Some of the suggestions include, say for example, we have with us Venkatesh Shukla, who has spent all his time in the Silicon Valley. He was also the leading person as far as TIE is concerned. Today he's a venture capitalist. He had suggested that why don't share some best practices of the West as far as startups is concerned. Creating a pool of mentors, advisors, based on domain knowledge and who can help these young innovators is a very good suggestion. Create a mechanism whereby the diaspora could actually invest in promising startups in India and perhaps even look at tax incentives for them. Now, after we did all this brainstorming, we had all these suggestions, after identifying all these issues, we started writing from the Ministry of External Affairs to various other ministries and departments saying that this is what the diaspora wants, this is the intervention that they want, that other ministries that need to be taken. So we had referred this to a number of ministries and departments. I'll now go through some of the policy changes that have been made so that you are aware that since this meeting took place in July 2016, today it is not all talk, we also walk the talk. So this is extremely important, and this message is something we would like to convey to our diaspora brothers and sisters. For example, the Department of Science and Technology have conveyed that they have something called as the Ramalinga Swamy Re-Entry Fellowship. This is for highly skilled Indian nationals working overseas in various cutting-edge disciplines of biotechnology by providing them an attractive avenue to pursue their R&D interests. At the same time, we have something called as the Vajra Faculty Scheme. This is also to tap into the NRI community. We had earlier talked about the interdisciplinary nature, not working in silos. So today, what we have is that the National Biodesign Alliance, which precisely brings together people from various fields of study, particularly biologists, engineers, clinicians, and medical technology experts to work on cross-cutting disciplines. Same time, we have other important initiatives, particularly BIRAC. Prime Minister had mentioned BIRAC yesterday in his speech, and they are establishing 20 bio-incubators in various institutions to boost S&T innovation and entrepreneurship. At the same time, we have other good initiatives. The Imprint is a great initiative, again by BIRAC, to address and provide solutions to the most challenging engineering problems in the country. Initiatives by the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research includes, they have something called the STIO program, Scientist and Technologist of Indian Origin program, to attract NRI scientists to the country. At the same time, CSIR is also encouraging the innovation ecosystem in the country. They are setting up technology incubation centers in almost all of CSIR labs. Ministry of Earth Sciences has also taken up a lot of activities, including a national design innovation network, which is linking up 20 new design innovation centers, and one open design school is being organized. Ministry of Ayush, we had also talked about focusing on yoga, Ayurveda, etc. Today, the Ministry of Ayush has come up with a template for international cooperation. The India-China Yoga College has already been set up in Kunming University. This is already operational. We also have a proposal from Hungary, from the Debrecen University. This is to set up the European Institute of Ayurvedic Studies. This proposal is currently being considered. At the same time, Ministry of Tourism is also encouraging greater medical tourism into the country. And also, to just inform you, we have constituted the National Medical and Wellness Tourism Board. This is primarily to encourage greater tourism, particularly for those who are very keen to look at Ayurveda, Unani, and Siddha medical systems. So these are some of the activities or some of the actions and steps taken by various departments. So I would leave it at that, and I would like to thank each one of you. Before we get into our session, I would also like to invite our esteemed guest, Shri Datu Seri Uttama Samivelu, who's the Special Envoy of Malaysian Prime Minister on Infrastructure for India and South Asia. I would now request him to give his presentation.
His Excellency Sri Sadananda Dauda, Honorable Minister of State for Statistics and Program Implementation, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. In today's global economy, knowledge workers and innovation have become the most important factor to remain competitive, and India is the key producer of graduates in information technology, science, and engineering. India, under the dynamic leadership of the Right Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has set the pace to make India as amongst the top 5 scientific powers globally. To enable strategic innovation in India, and the diaspora must embrace the following strategies. The first one, the new innovative mindset, that is, India must encourage innovative thinking among its people. Indian diaspora must be engaged to assist in developing the education and innovation blueprint for India. This will allow the transfer of knowledge from diaspora into India and quantum leap innovation. Secondly, the Diaspora-India Partnership on Innovation. India has to create the right business environment to attract the Indian diaspora. This partnership with India in energy, communication, innovation will lead to creation of innovation-driven economy. Number 3, startup labs and diaspora innovation. To develop India into a scientific and innovation country, the rural population from 600,000 villages must be part of the innovative India. Indian diasporas, especially from Malaysia, can contribute in innovation labs and be advisors to rural innovation projects. On the question of India's innovation ecosystem, ladies and gentlemen, India's innovation ecosystem must include a three-pronged strategy with Indian diasporas. Number 1, establish innovation digital infrastructure to enhance India's role in field of innovation. India must invest in digital infrastructure. Indian diaspora could lead new ventures in India to make Indian digital economy a great success. India must reinvent itself to provide global products and services. To assist India, the diaspora could provide key information on customers' needs and market trends. Number 3, marketing innovative products and services. India must excel in marketing to the domestic and international market. Indian diaspora could assist in identifying strategic markets and would enable India to channel its innovative products and services globally. Branding India as a global center of excellence in innovation. India must rebrand itself as preferred destination for innovation with following strategies. Number 1, flexible immigration policies for global Indians to gain entrance and contribute in key innovating segments. Number 2, easy access to local funding for Indian diaspora startup companies. Number 3, availability of world-class technology facilities for Indian diaspora to produce solutions to the world market. India roadmap towards knowledge and innovation. The following roadmap for innovation is important for India with the Indian diasporas. Number 1, identifying key economic segments that has the potential to grow through innovation. Number 2, identify talent development strategies to include innovation into the mainstream of education. Number 3, the master plan for India's knowledge workers. Ladies and gentlemen, Indian diaspora must look beyond to make this world a better place. Our annual meeting must make a difference to the global civilization. Let's work together with India as the next innovation nation and economy. India and the diaspora should work together and create the innovation-driven society in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think we will now take some of your questions. We already have one from Mr. Jaspal Singh from Malaysia. It's quite a lengthy question. I'll try to summarize it. Basically, his question is, what are the challenges to produce innovations like what we see elsewhere? For example, there is an Alibaba.com from China. There is an Uber, or there is an Facebook. So when do we see Indians creating such kind of companies, or how do you encourage this kind of innovation to take place? I'll give this question to one of our panelists, Prasad Kaipa, to probably intervene and tackle this question. Thanks.
One thing is that there are several companies that are coming up in India that are of world-class quality. We call them unicorns here, and many of them are becoming globally prominent and adding value. There are 3 or 4 things they may want to do, other companies, if they want to become unicorns. One is focus on the market and customers as narrowly as possible and make yourself unique and at a global level. Don't look at how great your ideas are or how great your products are. Many times global companies focus probably 90% of their effort on marketing and sales and connecting with the customers rather than coming from a product and idea perspective. I think that is one area where I do still see our intellectual capability is great, but our ability to reach and make it successful in the market with the customers, with the quality that they are demanding, I think that is second thing which is extremely important. The third one which we need to look at is to not look at how good we are in India alone, but we need to benchmark across the world, and we need to compete with products and companies that are coming from China or anywhere else. And the last and the most important is, I think the role of the founders and the initial executives will have to change as the company goes through various stages. I think one key part when I mentor with various companies and I work with some other people, the ego gets in the way. If we are willing to let the company grow, like in Silicon Valley they say, if you fight about whatever is there, when the company is the size of a grape, I have bigger percentage, you have smaller percentage, that doesn't mean anything unless you make that grape into a watermelon. Once you make that into a watermelon, even 5% or 2% of the stake you have in that company can become big. So that means we need to work together. We need to let go of our egos and make sure the company grows, even though some of the times roles are limited. If we can look at that, I have no question in my mind with the kind of people, with the kind of products, with the kind of technology that we are developing. In next 5-10 years, we will have probably at least 5 to 8 global companies of Facebook kind of standards. That's what I'm looking forward to as well.
Thank you, Mr. Kaipa. We have another question from Mr. Satya Rao from Switzerland. He talks of industry, academia, collaborative projects can lead to innovative solutions. He also says that we need to define policy on funding from public-private funding schemes. To answer this query, I would call upon Professor Naval Prinja, who had also raised this particular aspect during our discussions. I would now ask him to intervene, please. Thank you.
Excellent question. This is something that we often call valley of death for innovation. When an innovative idea starts, academics are interested in it, but technology has to go through about 9 steps of readiness levels before it reaches the customer. Industry is interested towards the end, This is technology readiness level 9. Academics, the first 3 levels: innovation, concepts, proof of concept. In between, all the testing, all the standardization, all the rules and regulations is forgotten. Neither the universities or academics are interested, nor the industry. And this is something that is happening in Western Europe. I come from UK. There, the UK government has taken keen interest to fill this gap. And they are promoting increasing collaboration between the academics and the industry. If a project, R&D project, is sponsored, they want to know from the universities, do you have industry advisory committees on which there are people from industry sitting to tell you what is it that eventually the industry will do. And similarly, the industries are advised, to work with the academics. And they have national labs, they have many other features that they have actually introduced in their policies. So this is something that I will strongly recommend here in India, to get the academics, the universities, who are essentially using education as a main business, to wake up and start to work with industry, and crosswise, industry needs to also work with the academics to create this connection such that innovative ideas do not decay and die in this valley of death. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Prinja. We have another, this is rather a recommendation from Radha Krishna Sharma from Australia. He's asking MEA to identify, the Ministry of External Affairs, to identify broad areas where Government of India would need expertise, knowledge on which the NRI community could contribute. Your point is well noted. It was also in our presentation that we made. Most of our panelists had referred to this. And he has also asked that our embassies and high commissions abroad could also have such interactive sessions whereby the NRI community could be told what is it that India would be needing and identify experts. We'll do this. We have taken note of this. Thank you for your suggestion. There is a gentleman, Basant Kumar Duggar, Singapore-based chartered accountant. His question is patents for innovation. There's no question here. If you're in the audience, could you please elaborate what your question is? Because it just says patents for innovation.
How you will protect Indian supremacy of innovation that other country cannot do the copy? You are protecting with intellectual property rights or patents or not?
I think I'll add to your question. We have come up with the new IPR policy. Please have a look at it. It's available online. The Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, DIPP, is the nodal department in India for all kinds of patents. And the DIPP has also been conducting a national
entrepreneurs with the worldwide standards, how things can be done better, how a pitching can be done better, these kind of things. So I don't see any reference being made in any of these slides. So are you open to those kind of pool of people? And many of them may be just, they may be homemakers or just taking a retired life, but with a lot of knowledge and expertise in these areas once they are back in India. So if at all anybody wants to be involved with this initiative, how can they do that, and how can they volunteer their time and effort? Thank you.
I think it's something, please sit down. Your points are well taken. This is actually happening as we speak. A lot of returning NRIs have associated themselves with various NGOs and incubators. There are a number of incubators today all over the country. And if there is a particular subject in which you are an expert, or you are returning to India and would like to help others to benefit from your experience, there are a variety of ways to do that. But if you're looking at specific institutions to which we could actually target you or to introduce them to you, please do write to us. I am from the Economic Diplomacy Division. My name, my email is all available. Just Google it or you'll be able to get it. We will be most pleased to help you out in this.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Since we are in this, I missed the starting of the earlier session. Just a quick one. I want to thank the present government for being, very pro towards the social media and communicating proactively a lot of things. Just yesterday, there was a topic about the Indian, embassy and all the consular services. And today there is already a tweet by Mrs. Sushma Swaraj in spite of her, recovery period. About all the contact, all the Twitter handles for all the high commissions across the world. So I would like to congratulate the government on these kind of, proactive measures. So hope it continues further.
Thank you so much.
You.
Well taken. Thank you so much. I think we are also falling short of time. I would now request the Honorable Minister who is with us today to summarize this session. And if any of you have a few thoughts but were not able to communicate it, please meet us after this session. We can surely meet with you. Thank you so much. I would now request the Honorable Minister to now give his concluding remarks.
Honorable Samivello, officers, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. I think since last 2 days, there were several brainstorming sessions wherein our diaspora who gave their valuable suggestions so that how India can thrive further. Really, yesterday's Honorable Prime Minister's address, he said that we want to make use of the diaspora and their knowledge, their experience in the larger development of the country. He said that the word brain drain has to be interpreted as brain gain for our country. I thank all the diaspora panelists and Honorable Samivello for giving their views so that we can make use of their knowledge to the development of our country. I don't want to take much of your time. Of course, the initiations taken by the government has been clearly given by a presentation by our officer Naidu. We have already aiming that our country should be top 5 scientific powers globally. It is possible only if through a definite roadmap and involving public-private partnership through the help of all the persons who can give their knowledge to the development of this country. Strengthening and expanding existing institutions of excellence and incentivizing the research in India that has been already initiated. Already our government has taken several measures, several steps in this direction. We ensure that the technology services it should contribute to the prosperous and sustainable future of the country. So we are making use of the technologies, as rightly said by Honorable Samivello, that digitalization is one of the prime areas of concern of this government, and we are taking ahead with that initiation with much putting strength on those areas. Of course, India needs innovation to deliver affordable solutions across the sections like agriculture, because the large section of people in our country, they depend upon agriculture. Even just because our country is a country having more than 125 crore population, so healthcare is another concern. Similarly, energy and financial services that are affordable to the and accessible to the masses that need to be taken care of. So all these ideas are taken. Of course, the Indian education has done well. We can't say that we are far behind. Now, since last 2.5 years, the new government has taken several initiations that the learning outcomes is one of the priorities, and special emphasis on skill development Yesterday also the Prime Minister, while addressing, he made much that skill development is one of the areas which certainly the huge manpower of our country can be delivered to the whole world. Similarly, the vocational training and eventual employability is also one of the prime concerns of our nation. We want to convert the Indian research institutions are centers of innovators, not only for practitioners, as rightly said by our officer Nagaraju. These areas should be taken care of. So I think by this sort of exercise, certainly we will get new ideas, we will get an experience which the diaspora who captured while touring across the country. I hope that certainly this session has given some new ideas to this government. We will make use of this, and we will see that the country will grow faster than ever. And I thank all the diaspora who have participated in this session. Thank you one and all.
These are the people who will benefit. Climate change is the biggest in the human history. You have no idea. It took 1 million years for nature to raise CO2 level in atmosphere to 200 ppm. Human intervention, within 100 years, we have raised to 400 ppm.
Excuse me, sir, the chair of the session has already given his concluding remarks. So we'll bring the session now to a close. But first, we'd like to honor all our distinguished guests. And to do the honors, Mr. Nagaraj Naidu. First, felicitations for the chair, the Honorable Minister, Shri Sadanand Gowda. And for each of our celebrated participants and dignitaries on stage. Let's have a round of applause, please. Honorable Minister, sir, and our distinguished guests, could we please request you to come up in front of the table for a group photograph? Thank you. Thank you very much.